my mum, losing my dad, stay on, I would stay downstairs. When the bus driver went up, I'd grab the till. Is now a pipeline for young offenders, and you're creating, like, you're going to create masterminds in criminal activity, turn them into Iron Man computers, digital wizards, poet.
What was your lowest moment in prison?
I'm saying the worst things, yeah, like, I mean, the horriblest things. And I was truly honest with myself. I was never going to change, because if you're not honest with yourself, you're not honest with the people around you, and you're still doing the same habits. Systems that are f***ing up our kids and creating pipelines from school to young offenders, and we need to stop it, and I'm going to be the one to do it.
Warren, I want to open this podcast a little bit differently to what I normally do. I've got your poem here.
Okay.
And I've read most of them, and there's one piece which I find really interesting. So I want to read it out and get your thoughts after.
Yeah.
So, our souls are emotionally brown bread. We lost our empathy in our child state. We call this PTSD. They give us a pill, leave us in the cell to deal with our toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
What did masculinity mean to you when you were growing up as a kid?
I think because I went to prison when I was 15, I was inspired by bad role models. And even going to prison at 15, for me, initially it was an adventure. But when you are around, you got to say, dysfunctional young kids. Remember, we were only kids. So that whole concept of me being inspired by, say, basically gangsters or whatever from outside, and then going into a young offenders institute where there was kids exactly who had that mentality, but a lot of it was child trauma. And I didn't realise. And the way, like, not to talk about your feelings, you got to be strong. You got, like, in prison, you got to understand, like, it conditions you, like, I call it the death stare. Like, I try not to do it outside, yeah, but in prison, it's almost like me saying, like, I'm not a dickhead. If you want it, you can have it, but you might win, but I'm still gonna be a problem for you. So you have to have that mentality, otherwise you're gonna be bullied. And I think that's what I'm talking about there. And then the realization that that mentality and that surrounded gave me PTSD, and I lost so much. Like, you imagine, say for instance, you're 15, I'll grab you off the street and I'll put you in, say, a crack house. You've got to live there for the next 2 years with all 15-year-olds that are doing crack. They'd give me a life sentence or try and get me done for some kind of charge. And that's what the system ends up doing to these kids. And I'm evidence of that. And if you look at all my pals that I grew up with who had the same life, they're all fucked. They can't do a normal job. They're hooked on fucking medication from the doctors that they've been told they got this. When I talk about the pill and leave you in the cell, do you see what I'm saying? So it's a very complex, like, I could go on for 2 hours about it, if I'm honest. And like, you have to, I suppose, because where I've lived it and lost a lot, it's made me reflect and go back into it and understand it. And that's why I believe I'm a prison reform leader. I'm looking to be a neurodiversity leader. I don't want to be like some kind of doctor or anything like that. But I believe I know the situation and I'm spreading my word. Simple as.
That's a great poem.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Warren, me and you both know that the context around a child when they're growing up, 0 to 18, is super important.
Yeah, of
kind
course.
of friendship groups, schools, family. Can you talk to me kind of what your teen years were like in that period?
Yeah, I think, see, a lot of people normally think I'm from an inner South London estate because of the way I am, but it's because I was around guys from like Brixton, Peckham, from the age of 15, and I was drawn to them. But originally, I grew up in Dartford, Kent. Yeah, so there was a lot of travelling guys, a lot of Asian guys, and in Dartford, say from the age of 12, I put up with a little bit of bullying till I started fighting. This is, say, like year 7. And then I realised, like, what used to always piss me off with people is that, from a young age, is that I would treat them a certain way and then I wouldn't get that back. So I ended up hanging around with people in Bexleyheath, which is up the road from Dartford. And then by 13, I met Nick, my mate Nick, his brother Sam, and they were from like Erith, Lana Roadway, and they were very active. So I started, and I always say I was quite adventurous. All my crime isn't so much like being a gang member or damaging people. It would be like to make a bit of money, but a little bit creative. And I always knew from a young age I thought differently to my peers. And that's why I think I was drawn to older peers, and also from a young offenders I was drawn to black people, even though my mum didn't tell me about my Caribbean roots. So what I would say is from the age of 12 till I went to prison, I was like just doing street robberies, making a name for myself because my peers were like Lee Murray, Paul Asbury, like guys from Woolwich area, that all the stories used to filter down to us. So yeah, street robberies, nicking car stereos, and I would come up with scams. So if I got even like, so let's say this is 1997, I was always good, and I know I got this from my dad, is that I'm good at finding shit out and making that make me money. So for instance, this is a quick idea. So I realised if we got bank cards and we're only like 13, 14, I could go to the phone box, yeah, ring up the local cinema and say that, Mum, how many tickets am I ordering to the cinema? And basically say like it was her birthday party. So we was going to order 25 tickets for 25 people to watch the film. So you do it on the bank cards, and then what happens is you put the card inside the machine, you get all the tickets, wait 20 minutes and ask for refunds, but just do bunches of 10. And then like imagine 13, me and my 4 friends, that was like 160 quid cash from that little move. And like, yeah, so we would do like adventurous stuff. Like we had another one with the bus drivers. My mate would go upstairs, jump out the back window, but leave a stick so the alarm would stay on. I would stay downstairs. When the bus driver went up, I'd grab the till on my toes. And I really remember this one fat driver, man. I ended up chucking the tin at him because I was knackered. But yeah, a lot of my crime isn't like horrible or nastiness. It's more like kids just, there was no phones, no internet. Like I don't think I see till I was 15, 16, till I see a mobile phone. So for us, it was just like being Jack the Lads, being a bit of a face. We used to like our little, I call them followers, because we didn't have social media then. So all the kids that from good, because I was in Bexleyheath, this is like good kids from good homes, but they liked a bit of naughtiness. And that's where I created, I suppose my nickname was.
When was your first run-in with the young offenders?
When I was 15. So 15. What happened was, when I was 14, me and Nick got nicked for a street robbery, yeah? And it weren't even a proper street robbery. He owed us money for weed, yeah? But he was older than us. And he said we used a knife, but we didn't. But what happened was, I kept getting nicked for stupid thing. And I got nicked for intimidating him, because I see him and I gave him a slap, whatever. And then they put me in foster care for 6 months in Sevenoaks, which was the worst decision because I ended up doing more crime and getting a cocaine habit. And then I was on remand, on bail, remand to social services till this court case at Croydon Crown Court, funny enough, at 15. And that's when me and Nick got our first sentence. But Nick was in the secure unit for about a year before that. So, yeah, that was the first time like me and Nick got touched the cell. I always remember the first, like, because we hadn't seen each other at the Crown Court. And we're both downstairs and we're just waiting for our sentence. We got like, I got more because I was older. I got like 3 years, 8 months. And I think he got about 2.5 years, but he'd done some on remand inside. But my remand time in Kent, Sevenoaks, didn't get counted. So yeah, that was the first time. And it always, because I was a film buff. Have you seen Sleepers?
No.
Oh, you must watch it. It's basically about 4 kids that kill someone accidentally when they're like 13, 14. But going into Feltham in an October 99, yeah, and it was raining, I thought, bro, this shit. And I remember the screw, like the jailer saying, you two stick together, yeah? Like, and in my head, it weren't serious. Like in my head, I don't know how Nick felt about it. I wasn't even that bothered. It wasn't till you start going on exercise yards and you start seeing like the other kids and what the situation is. Because at first I would say we were quite soft. Even though around our manor, like we were like little faces, like anyone from like that Bexley, Erith, that area, and you say like minor his name in that age bracket, they know us and yeah, they're tough fuckers. But felt them like I always say to people, them days it was like, you know, at school you got the naughty. Say you got 2 or 3 bad fuckers, yeah. It's like a whole wing of them. So. And this is what they don't realise is they were just, because I wrote a paper about it last year from our prison reform leadership course. School is now a pipeline for young offenders, and you're going to create masterminds in criminal activity. And this is why I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do, is bring that back. So we turn them into Iron Man computers, digital wizards, poets, rappers, because all the people I've met through my life, through serving prison, I've met some legends, and I've still kept in like a mentor about 9 lifers at the moment for free, because they're my bridges. Like a lot of them, when I was losing my parents, they were there for me. And they inspire me as well. The fact that remember, I've done a lot of time in prison, but I've never touched a life sentence. And when I see guys. I've got to bring this up. So Saints just hit me. Sorry. So, do you remember when the BBC done a Paramana show about parole board?
Yeah.
Fucking pissed me off. Mind my language. But the reason it pissed me off, I've got 12 guys right now. I could do a documentary who are in prison, all doing nasty crimes, whatever, but they're doing university degrees. They're running education departments in prison right now. And then when they done that show, they picked up donuts. That's what you did. You picked up donuts to grieve that concept of not letting lifers out. And this is what annoys me with the BBC, that you don't like people saying you're a government-funded corporation. But you editors tell me the narrative and storyline of your content. What does it say about prison? And this is why I'm saying, Channel 4, come and get me, yeah? Because I know what I'm talking about. I'm confident in what I'm talking about. I can go in any board meetings, CEOs, I don't care who they are, and this is the tune I'll be selling. And this is what I was saying to you earlier about transparency. The prison service isn't transparent, nor is the criminal justice system. But I could say a couple of little things, but I don't want to come across I'm anti-prison service, anti-criminal justice service, because there is sick people that do fucking wicked jobs, but it's all the same scenario like the NHS. It's all about money and all this. And like I could go into how governors look after their budget, yeah? Why basically after Christmas until April, most facilities are all shut down because they're not good at their fucking money management. It's little things like that. And I know I might come across, what do they say, academics? Oh, I'm a bit aggressive. No, I'm passionate and I know my shit. And yeah. That answers that question.
Warren, I'm really interested in that first time you went to, was it Feldenham prison, you said?
Oh, yeah.
So you said that you went in there quite young,
with
your buddy, quite soft, and you're in there with a bunch of...
Yeah, because what you got to realise, people, like, because this is good for, like, personal development. So, whatever surrounding you're around, say if you're just in a school and you're with academics, clever academics, you're going to learn so much. You end up being that person because you're around that reality. It's the same thing in young offenders. Like, what you got to realise, yeah, there is prison officers there, but you know there's like an inner society that they don't even know about it, yeah? And you're basically getting loads of young kids, and remember, some young kids know a bit more about criminality than some others, or some are from different areas. So when you mix that all together, and through the years of doing, because there's not enough inspiring these kids, telling them, oh, actually, bro, you want to do, say, like, I always say stuff like this, especially like with the children kids. So, like, say I want to do a grow, yeah, because if I grow, I don't know, 30 plants, in 4 months' time, I'll have 12 grand. I'll say, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. What about this one? You go to college and be an electrician, yeah? Most electricians are only 4 or 5 grand a month if they work hard. A month. But no one's telling them, these kids, because a lot of the music, you look at music, it's all about boxes, this ticket, da, 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 and it's, I suppose, a lot of films do, our society does kind of give that feel of like, I remember when I was seeing a psychiatrist, she said to me, when I was talking about my upbringing and that, she said, why was you inspired by criminals, like, or people that done crime? Well, it's just easier, isn't it? It's maths. Why would I want to sit in a fucking school and learn about King Henry the fucking VIII and then learn how to fucking, I don't know, break up a key of coke or rob a drug dealer? Because that's what I used to do. I used to think, like, when I was about 17, 18, I thought, why am I going to sell drugs? I might as well just rob them. It's easier. So that's, I suppose, with some people. And if you're good at what you do, people make a career out of it. Like, I know people that sit in jail now, maybe doing a 10 stretch, but they're making 10, 15 grand just on the phone. Like, you don't really know how deep the criminality is. And this is why we need to have lived experience consultants that are from that background for these people to relate and say, yeah, but listen, I lost my parents. Yeah, I didn't really see my kids. Yeah, you're going to end up like that, or you can, this is how I changed my life. And then instead of like, I think the prison reform industry is quite new. There is some good charities, but also there's some crap charities. But I feel like the group of people I met last year at uni, we're the new wave of prison reform. And I feel like, even on LinkedIn, when I have officers who say, oh, good work, and I'll have other lived experience people that say they're lived experience, but you're asking questions about, say, da 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 da, but I can answer that straight away because I've got 15, 18 years of the criminal justice on the other side and how hard it is and how, yeah, if that answers that.
Yeah, definitely. Warren, I really want to talk about kind of your thoughts on criminal justice reform and prison reform. But just before that, what was your lowest moment in prison?
Ah, there was so many, man. Fuck me. There was a few. I think being down the block for a long time, that's very hard because it depends what sort of prison you're in. When you're down the block, it's like 23-hour bang up. Most of them, they give you a choice. So you can have a half-hour exercise, a phone call, or a 10-minute shower, but you're only allowed to pick 2. So you would, yeah, that was quite hard. But then obviously losing my mum, losing my dad at that moment in prison where you can't go and, like, you can't see family, you're in jail. They were quite hard. But then I would even say, like, I remember when I got nicked, I think I come out of Feltham literally 3 days. I went to a Millwall game with a few of my pals, drinking, sniffing, and we got into a fight with the police and I elbowed an officer and they fell off the balcony. But at the time they nicked me for attempted murder. But because I'm out my nut, when they're beating me up and wrestling me and all this shit, I'm saying the worst things, yeah? Like, I mean, the horriblest things. And then when I was at Camberwell Crown Court, they read it out in front of my auntie. It broke my heart. Because that's where I used to hide my emotions when I was younger. And that touched me. So I'll always remember that. Because my auntie, like, she's been there through everything. And she still helps me to this day. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
You mentioned earlier that you are still in contact with lifers and they supported you through your difficult periods in prison. Are there any particular people who left like a lasting impression on you in prison? People who have done bad things, but deep down they're actually, you know.
Yeah, I think
people.
When I was in H&P Coldley on H Wing, there was about 4. So I was shout them out: Mass, Legs, Limits, and I want to say K. Yeah. Because they were like been in jail since they were 17, they're like, I say about 5 years younger than me. At the time, I was working in the education department, being like a teacher's assistant, doing digital media. with other prisoners, but they were like, they used to do your induction, and even though they'd been in jail for so long, they were so focused on doing university courses, bettering themselves, helping the education department to make it even better, doing prison councils, and even training. So like, I've always been quite just a meathead, like just weights, no cardio, no nothing. So there, because it was like a yard with porter cabins, we weren't actually in cells because it was like a lifers ring. And I shouldn't really be on there, but I manipulated my way on there. But they really inspired me because like with training, being focused, like having a run before you go to work in prison. Yeah, they really inspire me, and I keep in touch with them now. Like, yeah, because they're like, I would say like, if we look at, I won't say who it is, but a crime, like say the situation. So like, he'd come to this country when he was about 6 or 7, lived in Hounslow, naughty at school. So by the time 13, 14, he's on the road, a bit like me, doing robberies and whatnot to make a bit of change. Ended up doing, say, a burglary goes wrong and killing the guy. And then that's him from 17, and he's now about 36, 37. And to deal with the whole, just the prison sentence, all them years, and still to be okay in the head and focus and have ambition is amazing. Because prison ain't, like, people think you sit around on a computer. Nah, ain't like that, mate. And it depends what prison is like. Some prisons are fucking nasty. Some, like, if you go up north, for me, I think they're the worst. They're good prisons, but they're worse for prisoners. Because people don't realise, yeah, London is a game, but I find northerners like Manchester, Scousers, them prisons, they're like, they end up being naughtier, I think, than London prisons.
Why is that?
Because I think the people from them manors, they just don't give a fuck about nothing. And they will go to like worser. Whereas Londoners, I think we have a bit of class about us, a bit of morals. Maybe not the young kids now, but I'm talking from my generation. Do you see what I'm saying? So yeah.
Warren, you're really passionate about prison reform. I'm really interested to know kind of what was your experience in terms of rehabilitation and prisons working with you when you're incarcerated?
Yeah.
And what was obviously missing to get you so passionate to the point where you're doing all this work now?
Well, I think when I first went to prison at 15, I ended up, because you was under the school age bracket, you had to do education. So I first touch like any kind of reform. They ended up letting me do my GCSEs. Now, I would say I stopped like doing school about 12, 13. So at 15, 16, then to redo it, and then I've done 3 GCSEs, and I think it was maths, English, and art. So that was the first bit of rehabilitation. But then when I've gone through other sentences, like I said to you, I'm a bit of a manipulator, so I'll try and get the best fucking job. I don't give a fuck because it gets paid the most money. So I'd always try and be a listener. So that allowed me around the prison. Then I'd be a rem bad. And then I'd say I was in Rochester. This is when my mum got cancer. And I was a trailblazer. So basically I'd go around to the young offenders, and basically before they were released, like try and find out if they was interested in going to college and stuff like that. And then you would ring up the head office of Trailblazers, and they'd set up all the interviews for when they got out. So that, I really liked that. And I think that was the first time I felt like I was doing a bit of mentorship, but I was also so active in prison. Like I was doing parcels over the wall, being Jack the Lad, everyone knows you. Because what you got to realise, see the brotherhood in prison, it's sick. It's absolutely sick. And like, yeah, there's nothing.
Do you miss that brotherhood coming out of prison?
No, because I'll get it from other places. Like where I live now, I live on a travelling site, so I get that brotherhood there. And a lot of my pals, like sometimes I'm actually excited to do my prison rounds on the video call with certain people who I keep in touch with. So yeah, I think I've just created peculiar friendships, and it works for me. So I enjoy it because, like, even with my work, like, so I've only just started doing mentorship with Charlton, but before that, I was working for a removal company. So and a lot of the workers were kids, like 18 up to 25. So I feel like I've taught myself to be a sick mentor just because of the job roles I've had. Yeah, and a lot of that drives my passion. But going back to prison reform, so then when I was in Wandsworth, I was on 5-man unlock because I was always fighting and shit. And Wandsworth was quite rough and I was young. But I ended up, a woman come over from Radio 10. And this is how I got into media. So Rachel, her name is. She actually was from Dartford, which was weird. Anyway, so she come over and basically said she could talk the governor around. And they said that they liked my voice. So they wanted me to do voiceovers at Radio 10. So she got me over there anyway. And straight away they said, why don't you... They were just saying like I was good at a radio voice because I had a deep... I didn't see it. But they said, why don't you do this course we do with radio development? We do a BTEC in radio production. Because Wandsworth, Radio 10 was the first radio station before NPR and all them other radio stations. So I've done the course and then I won a Costa Award for a script, which was basically about me and my mates being football hooligans and sending coke in coaches. And they read a little piece out and on BBC, and then I got a Costa Award. So then I was like, right, so I must be all right. And then when I'd done my BTEC in radio production through London Met inside the prison, I got good grades. So I come out with a merit. So that was like, I think I got a few distinctions, but a lot of merit. So, and then I remember my tutor, Kamal, Indian guy, mad clever, yeah. He was like, listen, go to TV because you'll get an easy job and you'll just make serious amounts of money. And then I was like, well, when I write, I have images in my head, my imagination. That's how I write. So I was like, yeah, fuck it. Let me go Ravensbourne. So when I got out of prison, I applied, got in, and then done a mad thing where I think I nicked a few cars, got caught by police, and then went back to prison, then come out, and then actually started the course. Done the degree, done bit of work experience for Portland TV, Babe Station, and then I got a job full time, not on Babe Station, but another channel. But Richard Desmond owned Television X, so he just bought Channel 5. That's how I got into Channel 5. And then from there I moved to Brighton, run my own music channels, and then went back to prison. And this is what I'm saying about prison reform. I've been going straight for the last 15 years. And I've had fuck ups, because of parents getting ill, dying, relationships with a Babe Station bird that was full of coke and blah, blah, blah. So that was my rehabilitation story. And then what I'm saying with the prison reform, I get a little bit annoyed with prison reform because you've got a lot of people that think like doing 2 months for fucking mortgage fraud, they can come out and be a prison reform leader. Are you mad? I've been doing this for the last 25 fucking years. That's why I'm so experienced. And also, and this is not so much I'm so passionate, I know what I'm talking about. And I feel like I know I'm talking about in the fact that I know the systems that are fucking up our kids and creating pipelines from school to young offenders. And we need to stop it. And I'm going to be the one to do it.
What is that pipeline you're talking about? Is it school exclusion?
Yeah, so like, especially now, if you want to go down the old neurodiversity route, so you look at, I would say you got year 7s, 65% of them got neurodiversity. Schools haven't got the right professionals or systems set up to deal with naughty kids because they think a different way or certain classes don't interest them. Yeah, I write about in my poetry. Education was always pushed on me and only music and sports was my escape. But I didn't have no mentors, and that's what I say. I'm trying to be the mentor I should have had, that basically, because they don't know how to deal with them, they end up on the streets doing whatever they want. And that is the pipeline from school to young offenders. And then what happens is, as they do serious more crime that they've learnt around their peers in young offenders, you then get a psychiatrist to say, actually, I think you've got PTSD, a personality disorder, bipolar, let's medicate you. Bro, medication is no good, man. It's about neurodiversity is a superpower for me. I don't care what anyone says. I know what I'm talking about. In the fact that I've got majority of all them things, yeah? Right? Now, when I was wrapping people up or stabbing people, I'm a problem for society. So you lock me up away, yeah? And it's took me all these years to learn how my own brain works. And now I'm that guy where I've learnt systems that I like to compete in marathons, Ironman training, but I also like doing 6 jobs because doing a 9 to 5 don't cut it for me, bro. Because what happens is my brain is so active and it's almost like I'm in the corner and everyone's being so slow. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't get up. Sorry, I'm on one now. People don't realise, and even, I must say, my auntie and uncle as well, who back me through all my life, don't understand my brain. And this is what I'm talking about. Sometimes in schools, I could be in the corner and I feel like everyone's moving so fucking slow. I start terrorising everyone. And what I'm saying is my neurodiversity is my superpower. This is why I'm so confident. I know where I want my journey to go because I've learnt systems, i.e. training, intermediate fasting, not touching carbs, not touching sugar, and just doing a keto diet. That, I know I sound big-headed, I feel like most people, I'm 15% above them. And even when I was a little shit, I always felt that I thought different. And this is why I used to plan and be a leader. I've always been a fucking leader, but it took me the prison reform leadership course last year to actually cement everything. And that's why what's happening in my life right now and in the future, I'm good, bro. I know what I'm doing. I might ruffle up a few feathers, but I know I need to do it for myself, my inner child. I talk about that a lot as well, because your inner child is such a root core of your soul. So it's like I pay him back. And I talk about like, I do the 50 Cent transition right now, where I've been a little prick, whatever, but now I'm going to do good. And it's not how you start the race, it's how you finish.
When did you start to come to grips with your neurodiversity, kind of accept it, talk about it?
I think, well, when I went uni, they said to me I was dyslexic and gave me a laptop. So I was like, bro, sweet. I think deep down, every time I got nicked or gone to prison, it used to frustrate me where I want to headbutt my wall. Like, because, yeah, I would like to say my neurodiversity started from my inner child, where you learn from your peers, which I'd say travellers, because I grew up in a quite travelish area, scallywags. So I feel like I did have a bad bringing up, but because I was an adventurous and I wanted to be a face, it ended up me going to young offenders, where I believe where all my I think some of it is DNA. I think it's in your blood from my parents. Like I said to you, my dad was an armed robber. My mum was so bad, by the time she was 13, she got sent up north to a boarding school till she was 17. So I think a lot of my ADHD and all that comes from my parents, but I also think prison didn't help. The young offenders didn't help. And it was an adventure. Like, I remember my first fight, I got knocked out by the screw. Like, it was in induction, and this older kid, he was 18, and I think everyone was terrorising, but I'm only small. But I'm getting involved because I'm game, right? And he's turning around and he said, come, we'll go showers. I said, oh, sweet, bro. So I went up, I took 2 snooker balls in a sock, yeah? Went down to the showers, yeah? Missed him the first time, and I think I elbowed him, but the screw must have seen us come in, and the screws hit me like that, and then I woke up and I was being carried down the block. And the governor was like, well, what happened, Mr. Rhodes? I said, listen, I walked into the shower, someone threw something, then I got hit at the back of the head and I'm going down the block, and I got off it. But, like, yeah, it's like, you don't think kids are just sitting around playing computer. Like, I remember in Felton, I called it the Window Warriors. So at night, everyone's active because you need to communicate. We're all bantering, terrorising, and you'll have like the weaker kids crying out for their mum, their dad. See kids hanging themselves, blue lips. Like, people don't realise how much trauma
Did that affect you?
Of course it did.
Yeah.
It affects me now. Like I said about that situation 2 weeks ago, it brought up all the suicides I've seen through my life. Yeah.
Warren, I'm interested to get your perspective on this.
Yeah.
So I live in Brixton.
Mm.
6 months ago, in broad daylight, I had 3 teenagers in balaclavas come up to me
Yeah.
with a machete and tried to rob me.
Mm.
Now, I managed to get away. I sprinted for my life.
Well done.
Thank God for Boss Man in the corner shop.
Yeah,
He saved
that's
me.
it. That's it.
It's well documented that younger and younger people are getting involved in more and more violent crimes.
Mm.
You work with younger people now,
Mm.
and I think you have a really useful insight on this type of stuff. What do you think the reason is for that?
The thing is, what you got to realise, see a lot of these inner city kids, they grow up being inspired by criminal films, and especially like, I love music, but I love the songwriting side of the things. A lot of these kids just like listening to drill music, and a lot of these rappers don't even live that life. And the problem is, you're not living the life, so you're selling a narrative to all this younger generation that get inspired and think, because it's like, listen, so you got a blue door and a green door, yeah? The blue door is being a straight goer, yeah, and being a really good kid, yeah, and it's boring as fuck. And then you got the other door that says, well, if you do, and you get your watch, and you get your car, and you get your girl, and you get your own gaff by doing horrendous things, you're stuck in an inner city. You mostly, your mum's, but I'll be honest, with most kids, it's normally trauma from indoors. So it might be a drug abusive dad, alcoholic mum. Yeah, it could be anything, but you find that that's what pushes them to gang life. And remember, I'm not a professional. I always say I'm not really from that gang culture, but my mate Dwayne, he would say that that is the scenario, and that's why they fall for the whole gang, because it's like a family. Whereas when I was young, it was more like me and a group of mates. We're just going to be naughty little shits. Whereas now it's more, I want to say more operation. Like, you got older men, literally, if they see a young kid that they can use on a bike to sell drugs, and he's slowly going to do other crime, that's a good, like, what's the word? It's a good idea for them, and it's a good idea for the kid, because he sees a little bit of an escape. But like, you go back to funding, because we need funding for the community you know, the little community service homes and like, to then get out to kids and inspire. But you don't look at media, and this is my point with prison reform. It's so backdated, like the prison service. Like, you should be updated with the digital. Most 15-year-olds now are wizards digitally. So why the fuck are you trying to teach level 2 numeracy? Like, I could go into it like with the whole. It's like they're like the fake salesman. You're trying to sell a reality, but when you look into that reality, or you're from the reality, you're fucking lying, bro. And it's all about, this is why I'm about being transparent. Like, I always say this, right? So if tomorrow, crime stopped, who would be happy or who would be sad? Because I know for a fact, me, you, and the majority of the public would be happy. Do you know who'd be pissed? The government, the prison service. It's a money machine, and it's like, you could say the same thing with the court system. You know, if everyone for the next 7 days went not guilty, it was literally break the court system. They wouldn't be able to do so many fucking trials. And this is why behind doors, when you get nicked for a GBH or attempted murder, if they think you're going to get off it, they'll come up to you and your barrister and say, well, I'll give you a lesser charge if you go guilty. What, is that transparent? Even if you look at the horrible situations in the prison service, like I'm talking about violence, why is 80% of it kept away from the media? You're not transparent. You're corrupt as the guys you're locking up. And this is what I feel like I need to come across, is that my charity is going to be transparent, and it's about using the prison service, the criminal justice service, and people like me all together to change the system and inspire these young kids to be fucking legends. Like, I'm a bit like, David Goggins was a big influence, and I say he's got nothing on me. I've only just started. Like, for me, like, you put your mind to something, yeah, and you really do the research and look at systems and habits, And I must say, if anyone is intrigued by this sort of mentality, read Atomic Habits, one of my favorite books, yeah. And reading changed my life. We can do anything. Like I went to do my first Ironman last year and I nearly killed myself. But I'm doing a couple of little ones and then I'm back out there. I'm going to do Barcelona. But yeah, I'll get one of them straps and I've just learned that, yeah, I can do anything and I'm unbeatable. So.
What gets you excited now?
Oh, those
when you
are
wake
shit.
up?
Oh, running. Yeah, it does. I'm mad. Trust me. Running,
I'm
writing, doing my poetry, writing scripts, even public talking. Basically, everything I do in my life now, I think that's why I'm so driven and passionate about and even like setting up a charity and headhunting certain characters and yeah.
Warren, I want to read you another poem, which you wrote. We can't go from years in close conditions and be expected to be left out on the roads and live that Lord-abide life. It's like setting us up to fail, for reality is rife. Put a dog in a cage, poke him for years, and then let him out. He will be like a tense Tasmanian devil. Stop setting us up to fail, but help us to prevail.
Yeah.
Make prison work for me and you.
Yeah. Basically what I've been talking about. I can't wait till I do the animation videos for them. Yeah. What I'm talking about is like, so when you go to prison with a lot of shame, no matter who you are. If you're like a top end drug dealer, because you're going to have loads of problems because you come to prison. And it's almost like they like to treat you in a certain way with the way they communicate with you, even the prison law, the way it's written, yeah, and it's almost like they want you to be full of shame, with no ambition, no happiness, and then you're put in to do jobs that are so mundane, yeah, like doing tea packs for £1.20 for 5 hours, bro. What do you think a prisoner's learning now? He's talking to his mate. Yeah, when I get out, I'm doing this robbery, that robbery. So what I'm talking about is like you're creating a new society of shameful men, and then you wonder why, when you let them out and don't support them, you wonder why guys are getting out and doing serious crimes. Because they've been waiting in the jail where all this shame and mentality is forced on them. So when they get out, they just want to, like, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't even say I'm mentoring. So I've got a guy who's done a double murder from East London, now lives in Ipswich, keeps getting recalled as a lifer. And the conversations I have with him is that, what am I going to do? All I've done my life is sniff coke and had brasses. What, you expect me to go and work in Tesco's? And that's his probation and his license rules are for him to get a job, but he's a 62-year-old man who's never done anything from doing prison time or earning a load of money and being in that high life of strippers and cocaine and all that. There's no system in place where they try and understand the criminal, yeah, and then ask them, how would your life want to be lived? Because you need people to start being honest with themselves. Because what I learned is, until I was truly honest with myself, I was never going to change. Because if you're not honest with yourself, you're not honest with the people around you, and you're still doing the same habits. So yeah.
Warren, let's say you are on a 12-hour plane flight, and to your left you got a prison governor, and sat next to your right you have someone from government, an MP. What are you telling these guys?
Oh, that's a good fucking question, you know. Well, firstly, I'd start with, look, prison, like my experience, the prison service doesn't really work in rehabilitation. But what I will say, when I was at Radio 10 and Labour in Power, they did spend a lot of money on rehabilitation, because when I'd done my BTEC in radio production, Cheryl Blair gave me my certificate. All right? And then when you say the Blair, but because of the war, I'm not talking about the war. So what I'm saying is, yes, funding needs to be done, but also you need honest money management. When you talk about a prison governor, like, I'm not going to name no names, but I've been to certain prisons, and as soon as Christmas is over, the prisoner's got no money, and what they're spending on, like, like, for instance, they might spend 28 grand on new lights in the corridor. Bro, why are you spending that money on that? Do you know what I mean? And I understand, like, infrastructure needs to be done, but I would say a lot of the spending is questionable, yeah? Also, I would say is that if you look at education departments, the majority is women teachers. And yeah, that might be great for young men. I think there needs to be more men and lived experience guys coming into prisons and teaching, because we can inspire by telling our story. Normal people can't. Like, and don't get me wrong, there is good people in prison service, education service, but I feel like sometimes there's characters in there just to get their mortgage paid. They have no interest, and I also think the prison service has learned from COVID that they can do a bare minimal regime, and it keeps the clock turning. Because some prisoners are almost just waiting to get to the end of the day. All right, we'll do it all over again. And like, even if I've got to bring this up. So at the moment, they're talking about a lot of prison officers getting attacked. Listen, bro, right? This is common sense. When I was in prison as a kid, there were lived experience guys, ex-army, ex-police. Yeah, they know how to deal with situations. When you're getting shop assistants from Tesco's at 22, 23, and they're dealing with me and another 40-year-old who are on it, you're telling me he's going to deal with the situation? He ain't going to know, because he's just done 6 weeks course. There's a lot of stuff, and you could say, with, like, if you went into the NHS, or, like, I just feel like you can't get things right the first time. They need to start listening to guys. Well, they will anyway, because of what I'm doing. So, yeah, that's what I would say to them. I'd say you really need to look hard in the mirror and say, like, don't get me wrong, there is good. I've got messages. I have messages from, like, good governors, good custody safeguard officers, yeah, who actually were involved with me getting out to see my dad before he died, like. And he messages me privately and, like, says, you're doing great work. Like, it's not like I'm anti-police, yeah, I would have any conversation like this with any professional, and within 10 minutes, I know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, that's how I'd say it. But the thing is, doing this whole prison reform industry ain't just going to take me. It's going to take, like, a whole village, a whole country, people from prison service, people from mental health, neurodiversity doctors, people from sports, as we can really do some good work. But yeah, that's enough on that one, I think.
Warren, I could talk to you for hours. I'm going to have to get you on again.
Yeah, 100%.
You're writing a book. When's that going to be out?
Well, so I'm looking to have my autobiography out in September, because I self-publish, because I can't be bothered to wait for publishers. Yeah, so I'm looking for that for around September, and that's when I'm going to try and drop my Cherry as a website-based multi-platform company around September, and I will be doing an event. So if any guys are interested to get in touch, or even just look at my stuff, all my social medias at Oscar Was, on Facebook, Instagram, and what's the younger one? TikTok. Or I have my own hashtag through my poetry, which is called The Wizard of Was, and we're on YouTube. Yeah, we're just building, so if you're interested, come and have a look, subscribe, and you never know, I might be able to help or inspire one or two of you.
Warren, this has been amazing. I'm going to leave a link in the description below to your social media.
Yeah, wicked, thank you.
Your Instagram is sick.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
If you're into your fitness, Warren's the guy to listen to. He's on it.
You.
I'm going to leave a link to this poem as well.
Yeah.
This poem book, which Warren has written, I believe you wrote it in prison.
Yeah, so I wrote that when I was in Coldenley and I was losing my dad. So I found that writing.
It's very raw.
That's what I talk about, because I couldn't really do that if I weren't honest.
Yeah.
And in that book, there's poetry about losing parents, losing relationships with my children, from the prison service to guys who inspired me that are lifers. Yeah, and then somewhere I just want to have a good old moan, but do it a bit creative.
Warren, this is so good, man. Gonna have to get you on again.
Yeah, no problems. Anytime, my man.
Thank you.